Hello, folks. This broadcast is being done live. We're looking at a beer that, to Americans, you're going to say, why are you looking at it? Haven't you beat this dead horse to death? And yes, there would be no real purpose to review this or examine it. But in the sense of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, it would be important because it just arrived in Great Britain. Am I correct?
Yep. Only got released early March in across pubs over here. Only one chain of pubs though, only Wetherspoons.
Okay. One chain. So Bud Light introduced into the United States in 1982 and introduced in Great Britain in March of 2017.
Just a bit later.
Now these bottles are redesigned.
Yeah.
This is a.
Mine's pretty much the same.
They used to be red, white, blue, and silver, but it had gotten really. They had changed the label so many times over the years. I think they wanted to go back to more of the original label, which was more in line with the Budweiser label, you know, with the fancy graphics and all of this. The old AB shield.
Yeah.
And so what they did was they redid it back to the 1982 label pretty much, but without any red. It's just blue, white, and silver today. Now, does your fiance drink this kind of stuff?
Not at all. No, she's not even a beer drinker until she's cider. So.
Oh, cider. Oh.
Yeah.
I don't like cider. Okay. I was just curious. Look at that thick head, but that head won't last.
Popping mine open.
Echo in your end, but we'll see what happens.
Okay.
It's not bad. Hey,
what's the ABV of yours? Because I know mine's different.
Yeah, I was about to mention that. You want to bring up live comments and see if viewers want to make comments?
If I know how to do that, I would do that.
It up.
Okay.
On mine, and then I'll read them. Yeah, 22% in America, and the calorie count is 110, I believe.
Okay.
Yes, 110 calories per 12-ounce bottle. I don't know what it is.
Because we've got 440ml cans here, nice awkward amount to work with, and it's 3.5% ABV here, and calorie-wise, it is 127 calories. So
per
440 ml, or
so that's along the lines.
So 29 per 100 ml. If you want to work that way.
So pretty light calorie. Now this bottle has a Best By date, May 21st. Now you don't get them in bottles there. We get the brown bottles here. This is a. Let's see what the milliliters on this is, because it's 1.2 ounces. 18 ounces.
So what's that? That'll be what, 600 ml? Oh, that's your pints. So your pints are different.
Yes, 18 ounces. So 18 ounces is how many?
If only we were in the olden times when we used to work in ounces. Oh wait, I'm a brewer. We do anyway.
I know how to figure it out. Okay. A 12 ounce is 355. So 355 times 150%. It's 532.5 milliliters.
Oh, okay, yeah, because we get, sometimes we get bottles that size. The only bottles are remotely that sort of size. Newcastle Brown do 550s. Everything else is 500 ml or 350, or sorry, 330, not 350. And then we get, canning wise, we get, these are the tall boys as they call them, which are 440s, or normally we get 330s generally.
330s, yeah, we get 355. That's our standard size. That that this 532 milliliter or 18 ounces is a rather unusual size. Most Americans tell me I've never seen those bottles. We get a whole bunch of bottles like this from various companies, though, in the New Orleans area. But in other parts of the country, they say they never seen them. Now, Budweiser used to be 5% in Great Britain, and then it got dropped to 4.9 because of tax reasons, right?
Yeah, I think is it still 4.9, or may be less. But we had a lot of beers recently have been bumped down quite a significant amount. I remember Northern Southern Beer Reviews was speaking about it the other day, saying about, for example, Special Brew, how that was forced. It originally was 9%. They forced it down to 8%. So there's quite a lot of beers which have gone that sort of way. But I think it's mainly it's tax is massive here. The duty is huge on beers, so we get affected by it quite heavily.
Yeah, and I don't think over here there's really a difference if whether the beer is 4% or 24%. I just think it's a straight, okay, it's beer, so there's the tax. Now it might depend state to state, but I can tell you how much this bottle will cost me. It was $1.30. It was $1.39, which I converted it over to, because it's $1. It takes $1.25 to make 1 British pound. So in British pounds, it would be about 157 pounds. No, 100.
1 pound.
174 pounds. 1.7.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's a good deal or not.
Well, I bought the 4-pack of this for £4.25. So for us, that is not the cheapest. When you consider the ABV as well, being 3.5, most sort of standard lagers. For example, I picked up a pack of Heineken. I picked up 2 4-packs of Heineken, and that cost me £8.50. So and we're talking a 5% lager as well. So it is a little bit on the pricey side, but I think it's because it's new. It's always going to be a little bit more expensive, and they'll bring it down in time. But
I'm going to read a few comments, and then we can talk about it'll probably go down once the hype on over there.
Not really. It's I mean, it's, as soon as it came out into the Wetherspoons, people were like, "What is this? Get rid of it!" And it was met with some pretty harsh criticism, which somewhat, it's just like what you have out there, to be honest, I suppose. But can-wise, not too many people know it's actually in stores yet. I think someone posted that it was in Asda, which is Walmart. It came into Asda first, and then it came over to Sainsbury's, which is where I got mine from. But it's just not very well publicized, so I don't suppose people know about it too much.
We also you see over here, Bud Light is probably the most publicized beer. There's ads everywhere. It's on TV constantly with commercials, radio. It's the most popular beer in America without any sort of, there's really comes close to it. If you look at Budweiser, the original, and Bud Light as a single brand, sort of like versions of the same brand, they make up a majority of the beers sold every day in America, which is incredible to imagine. So on a daily basis, the majority of beer drunk is either Budweiser or Bud Light.
Yeah.
If my calculations are correct, and I believe they are.
I think what would be the most popular beer over here? Probably definitely not Bud or Bud Light or Budweiser. It's hard to say because we've got such a massive influx of various different lagers that hit the country probably about 20 years ago that we just don't really have one that sits in the forefront. Maybe Carling, maybe Foster's. Those are the big ones that you'll find pretty much everywhere.
Foster has a big presence here. A big presence here in like we're talking about Bud Light, and Carling is almost unheard of in America, but we do get Carling Black Label. But you probably get a phone call from either Donald Trump or Queen Elizabeth before you run across that beer. Now here's the comments. Brian S says Bud Light equals 7-Up or Sprite. Okay. And Samuel says, wow, I steer clear of Bud. I look for German beer, chemical free. It's available now in the UK. I don't think this Anheuser-Busch product we're drinking has any chemicals. It has water, barley malt, hops, yeast, and rice. Brian says, great beer if you like light beers. I don't. Dan Samuel says, thanks, Ron. Live chats of the future. Maybe. Brian S says, Ron is awesome. Thanks, Brian. Dan Samuel says, he is a born and bred entrepreneur. Well, I'd like to know what I'm entrepreneuring. I don't think making videos at your house is exactly. Bud Light equals great beer if you're a light beer drinker. True. 4.8. Oh, he's talking about Budweiser. He should review marijuana. Yeah, I don't think so. Bud Light is worth it. Coors Light is only light beer advertised here. And I've been drinking today, Brian says. I apologize if I'm being an ass. Great job, everyone. Hey, you know what? Some people drink and they get really crazy. Dan Samuel says Coors Light is huge here. Oh, I believe it. It's huge here in America. Okay, back to Harry. Sorry, but I wanted to read some of the comments.
Okay, just touching on Coors Light. Coors Light was quite big. Coors is actually brewed just up the road. It's brewed in Burton, and
Right.
it is pumped out a lot. But there's so many places. There's a big thing going on recently that Tesco, for example, all the big supermarket chains are stopping. I can't say anything about it, but they're stopping. I said something about it last week. In fact, they're stopping taking all these sort of big chains, big brands, macro beers, and they're opting for smaller craft beers. So we're not seeing, Coors. This main reason why I switched on to actually drinking Heineken was because Coors Light was the drink that was always in my local snooker hall, and now they have Heineken instead. I was like, okay, well, I'll try that. Enjoyed it more. But I quite like light beers. I think there's always a place for them. The lack of taste they may have, but it's remotely beery, which is always good.
John Sharon last night was talking about light beer fan. I know a lot of craft beer drinkers that they love light beer. I mean, they just drink it all the time. I don't really like it too much, but I don't hate it. Experience with it. But anyway, all right. What do you think about it? It looks pretty regular, doesn't it?
The fact that the head went so quickly amazed me. It's just no head on it at all. Have you got a little bit of head on yours? I can't see.
No, look. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see.
There's a white rim. Some people have described this beer as like very similar to mineral water. I remember when I first started reading beer reviews around 2000, they said that. And I found that was probably the case. But you are involved in the brewing industry. I won't say much. But as you know, brewing lagers, especially light lagers, is a great challenge because if there's any flaw, it's going to be very present. And a lot of these cheap light lagers we get in the United States, the ones that are unusually cheap, they present all sorts of exotic taste and aromas, and the exotic is always bad.
Too true. I mean, we don't get many light lagers here. They all I say light lagers, they tend to be 4% and above. Very rare will you find nothing less than that. So this is a bit of a weird one in that sense. But I think there was one I had recently. It was originally quite a strong lager, but they bumped it down quite a lot, and it's around 4%. And it just tastes awful. It doesn't taste right. And there's a lot of skill that comes into brewing a lager. I don't brew any. We don't do any at all. But I like the big breweries. Like example being Carlsberg. I may not like their products as much, but I like the big breweries because the brewing expertise is something that goes a little bit missed. No one really sees the brewing expertise behind these breweries is massive. Their knowledge is huge. but they go and brew this sort of thing. But it's amazing. Like some of the most knowledgeable people I know in craft beer have worked in the past for Carlsberg and Heineken and Molson Coors, for example, and now they're off training us for working for separate companies, or training us, or working for a different craft brewery. It's just amazing. The wealth of knowledge they have behind them is massive. But they're brewing this, which comes across quite a simple beer, but it's not. It's quite hard to brew it.
And it's brewed all over the world, and it always tastes exactly the same. You don't say, "Oh, I got a bad batch of Bud Light," you know.
Mm.
It always tastes the same since 1982. It just never changes. Now, because there isn't a whole lot. When I work at Bingo once a month, I'll either drink Bud Light, Coors Light, or Miller Light. The reason being that's the only beers they have there. Introduce them to more exotic beers, and some of the ones you would laugh at some of the ones I tried to introduce them to, like one of these Guinness pale ales. It was not Guinness pale ale. It's one of their companies, though. But you know, one of the Smithwick's pale ale, yeah. Now, isn't that about the mildest thing? Oh, the guy says, "Let me try some of that." He drinks it. I said, "Where did it go?" "Oh, he dumped it out. He thought it was so strong and horrible." I'm thinking, golly. I mean, so their attitude toward introducing them to anything above Bud Light, Coors Light, or Miller Light was either they were indifferent to it or they were openly hostile to it. So I just said, there's no use. They have certain whiskeys they drink. They're never going to change. And they have certain beers and they're never going to change. So what's the purpose of just pushing that on somebody? It doesn't make any sense.
We get the same sort of thing over here, but we have it with obviously the lager drinkers as well, but it's also we get it with the real ale drinkers. Typically, the real ale drinkers are. I shouldn't say anything like this because I market my beer to real ale drinkers. Anyway, the real ale drinkers tend to be, or Camera, as I'm sure you know about Camera. They tend to be socks and sandals sort of folk, all, with a OAP pass and senior rail card, that sort of thing. That's the sort of thing, and they will not change. They will not try craft beer or other beers. You try and introduce them to it, and they just like alienate it, and they hate it. And it's the same with trying to introduce like a real ale or a craft beer to a lager drinker. But the worst group of all those are Camera drinkers. They are the worst. They're like the Bud Light drinkers in a way. They will not try anything else. But no, I'm enjoying this.
I've heard that from other sources. Well, I'm going to give you a brief description of what I'm drinking, then I'm going to go get the rest out of the refrigerator. But let's be honest, the aroma is very muted, but sour. And I don't mean like a sour beer, you know what I mean? Yeah. But like a slight fermented, I guess you'd say, aroma. And the taste, yeah, I get the thing about the mineral water, I do. But it's, of course, I always say it's the driest beer in the world. It's the crispest beer in the world. Not to say that everything needs to be super dry and super crisp. There's a little, but it's not too much sweetness. A very slight, what you would call standard lager flavor. And I think most people that are watching this video have drank enough standard lagers to know what I'm talking about. Sweetness, the grain, a little rice flavor here, like boiled rice, because that's exactly what they're using, boiled rice. And no bitterness, so forget bitterness. It's so round, the beer is so round that you're not gonna, you can't really detect any indistinguishable features or standalone features, and it finishes, like I said, crisp, clean, and refreshing. For the prices we pay, it's not a problem. Although I have to admit, I can get beers that are just as good as this with superb quality control also from Miller Coors for almost half the price. So you know where I go if I'm going to go down that road. Now you have the floor.
Okay, okay. Yeah, no, I'm enjoying it. As you say, that sort of mineral water sort of taste, I can definitely pick it up. Obviously, with our beer being even lighter than yours, um, it definitely has that sweetness, which you say. It's got a bit of a breadiness, a biscuitiness, like a standard lager, as you say. And yeah, it's nicely rounded, crisp and clean and refreshing. It is, in a way, I understand why it works in the States, because over here we have the equivalent being like a mild, which is only going to be 3% or even less than that. It's going to be one of those beers that you have like several pints of it, and just to keep going and keep sessioning on it. It's just a session beer, I suppose, a session lager. But I quite like it. I'm not the biggest fan of light beers. I'd compare this even to like a soft drink because it's so light. It's just nice and easy drinking. If you want that flavor of beer, but you don't want the ABV, really be a go-to. But there's, we all know it, I suppose. There's plenty of other decent lagers to go for out there on the market. But it's just nice to try it. I'm sure I'll be getting more and more cans of it as well.
Yeah. If somebody tells me I don't like Bud Light because it's too dull and bland, I'll certainly go along with that. I'm standing up because I got tired of sitting. Excuse me. I would go along with that and say, I agree, it's dull. But when these people write these reviews, I read reviews on these websites. It's horrible. It tastes like urine. It's the worst thing in the world.
It tastes like.
It's a 0 out of 100. Those kind of reviews, I don't understand that. It makes no sense to me. I have no problem with it. I mean, my problem with it is a style issue. I don't like the style. Well, that's not a fair judgment to say, well, since I don't like the style, the beer is bad. That makes no sense. There's certain vegetables I don't like. That doesn't mean the vegetable is bad.
Exactly.
Now, I'm going to show you two other things. Here's, I bet you'll never see this in Great Britain. Bud Light Platinum.
Never.
Following, not as big as it was 5 years ago. 6% alcohol. Not exactly a light beer, but at 6%, if you session this, get ready. And it comes in this cobalt blue. It comes in cans too. Oh, can you imagine drinking a bunch of 6%? It has a following. I tried to do the same trick. No, it does have a following. It's a pretty big seller. It's one of the top 20 selling beers in America. On the other hand, they tried, Bud Light Platinum. On the other hand, they tried to turn the same trick with this beer. Budweiser Black Crown, also 6%. Not light. And people just did not like it. It's about to be discontinued. Much heavier body. And I think drinkers found that it was too strong. This is full body, 6%. On soon. I'll show you one more thing. What?
It sort of looks like some of the, in its description being an amber lager, almost like some of the Polish lagers that we get over here that tend to be really, really quite strong. It like sounds Tatra. Like them anyway. Yeah, we got a lot. Tatra, Okashim.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was something like that, but this ain't Poland. Here's something they tried in 2008 to 2012, another colossal failure. Budweiser American Ale. They said, I bet you the company said, I bet Budweiser drinkers would love to drink an ale. Ale.
I'm sure they would.
I liked it, but they hated it. The people hated it. It failed. I think it was about 5%. But that ale, you know how the ale has that little dirty, that dirty, earthy presentation?
Yeah.
Wow. The craft beer people wouldn't drink it because it was from Anheuser-Busch.
Mm.
And regular beer people wouldn't drink it because it was nasty. They tried to cross. When they try to cross lines, it doesn't work.
Trying to sell for both markets, it won't ever sell. You won't ever achieve anything. It sort of looks like, oh, we've seen that craft beer movement. Let's have a go at that. That's like we get a lot of macro breweries over here trying to do that, and it's just fails all the time because it gets sussed out very, very early on. You'll probably get a few drinkers drinking it, but you'll never get repeat drinkers or return drinkers that are going to have it again. You'll just get one or two people just having it once.
I'm the kind of person that would do it, return to it. But maybe I'm a little unusual because how many people get on the internet and do video reviews for beer? Not too many. So your average beer drinker is not going to sit down and write reviews. They're not going to examine the beer. They're just going to guzzle it, right? Try it once and it tastes wanky. No more. Thank you. Good evening and good night. Let's see what the comments are, and then that'll be it for the comments. Then we'll wrap it up. Drinking natural ice now, my favorite. You know what, Matt Blaze? I love natural ice. Light beer drinkers aim for the body weight conscious of us, Dan says. Down with me and look at a lot of the people drinking Bud Light. You might not agree with that argument that you just made. Obviously not weight conscious. Michelob Amber I like, or any Guinness or any Bud or any heck of anything I want to drink. Oh yeah, Brian's been drinking. I want to drink cheap beer, expensive. I drink light beers too. It depends on what I decide to buy. We're getting kind of. Dan Sims says, very politically motivated lager beer. Obesity reduced equals huge government savings. Yeah, but like I said, go look at who's drinking it and see if that's working. It will be interesting to see if Bud Light takes off in the UK. They have launched it before and it was withdrawn. I heard that.
Oh, was that right? I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what's. I'm in camera. Dan Samuel says, I'm in camera, and I and my friend are 36 to 40 years old.
I'm in camera as well, and I'm well out of that bracket. But, there's good members, but then there's a lot of twats. We have to be honest. There's a lot of people who just are stuck in their ways and won't change.
Rigid. Camo says, I wonder what has changed in the UK to make Bud Light take off. Well, apparently nothing, because it didn't take off.
I don't know. The only reason why we have it here is because people in the UK were demanded to have a lighter lager than what we have. The lightest normally will be a 4%. So people just demanded that we have a lighter one than that. That's the only reason why Bud Light's really here. 3.5% as well. So it's going to make an impact. But I was in the pub earlier doing a delivery in a Wetherspoons. No one was having Bud Light. Everyone was having Kronenberg or Carling or Foster's or something like that. No one was having Bud Light. I think it was mainly just the normal lagers that everyone else would have. That you'd have. It hasn't really made much of an impact. It's even right in the center of the taps as well. It's right on show, in your face, and advertising everywhere. It's not selling.
Oh, Brian says, if you eat a light hamburger, take away half of the fat, you have not much taste. Good point. Eric Lyons fan says, what up, Blue?
Oh, I am.
He means blew up. To call Blue. What's your thing called, Blue? I'm having a mental nervous breakdown. Blue knows. In general, now Blue said, Blue 1s and 10s says, in general, Polish lagers aren't that strong. Sure, they have their share of strong beers, but for the most part, they're not the big sellers in Poland. I know, I've been there. Well, yeah, I guess Tyskie and Anheuser-Busch and all of them are around 5%. I have a Polish wife and a father.
So just about to say that the Polish craft beer scene is quite awesome. It's quite good. Polish craft beer. I haven't tried any, but what I've seen of it, I know Simon Martin, Real Ale Craft Beer, he goes over there now and again, does videos, and he fortunately gets to try a large amount of it. But the only stuff that we get over here is like your dregs, the Polish dregs, which is Zawisz, Okocim. We get the worst kind of Okocim ones. We get the really terrible ones, Warka. Lech, name various other massive Polish lagers. We get them, but never any of the
I've had a
decent
bunch.
stuff.
Dan Samuel says, I have a Polish wife and father-in-law. He prefers vodka. Wink, wink. It's true. And then this other guy says, Blue says, it's true. They do like the vodka. Campbell says, I enjoyed Ronald's use of the word wanky. In England, it's different.
It is.
Well, it means like off kilter or wrong about it. Like, what's this strange flavor in this beer? It's wanky. It's like, or they'll say I'll think of the expression. In China, Budweiser is pretty big. Yeah, I've heard that. I know that's true. Did people in the UK seriously demand a lighter, weaker ABV beer?
Worryingly so.
Brian says Ron should be a bartender. Yeah. Where's everyone actually from? We're from all over Canada. Blue says Canada. Okay, well, I'm going to let them talk. No more. I'm not going to go to any more concerts going all day. But oh, yeah, I know what I was meaning to say. People in America will say it's out of whack. It's out of whack. There's something wrong with it. It's out of whack.
Okay.
Maybe that means something's in whack if it's correct. I don't know. Did they use that expression in England, out of whack?
No, not at all. And wanky means something completely different, which I'm not going to go into.
Okay. Say over here is, this beer has the whole shebang. That means like it covers all the proper points. The whole shebang. Although you hear old people say that mostly. Older people say the whole shebang.
The whole shebang. My parents use that terminology.
Who knows where that came from? Anyway, well, that's it. But like you say a few more comments. I'm going to go get the rest of the beer.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's to be honest, I've quite enjoyed it. It's a nice. It's interesting to see it because we don't get light beers over here at all. It's nice to try one. I mean, we had the Miller Genuine Draft, I think it is, but I think it is Miller Genuine Draft, which is somewhat comparable to this in terms of its lightness, of light tasting notes. But this is just a whole new level of lightness, and it's nice to try it. It's like a nice tasting, almost non-alcoholic beer. I quite like it for that. But I'll be getting some more cans of this for sure.
Need to put it in brown bottles also. That might be a mistake, not having it in bottles. You know, some people just love beer, right?
Yeah, I mean, cans sell pretty well here at the moment because of how the craft beer scene is driving in the UK. Cans are selling really, really well as a result. Cans used to have a real bad name here, but I think they see it now and they probably won't think too bad about it. But it's odd. Honestly, it's odd to see a lager in a bottle. You'd normally see a lager in a green bottle, and never really in a brown bottle. You see in a green bottle if it's going to be in a 660 or a 750 or something. But seeing lagers in smaller bottles, it's only something that you see if you're out and about. If you're going to a club or nightclub or something like that, that's the only time you'd really see a bottled beer, or maybe even a football ground, because we've got all sorts of funny laws around drinking in stadiums. But everywhere else you'll see it's cans.
We get 40-ounce bottles over here of Bud Light. Now, how many milliliters is 40 ounces? I guess I have it right here. Let's see. Look at this big bottle. We can get Bud Light in these big things.
Oh, I saw someone do a review of something this morning. Actually, I was watching someone do a review in one of those.
Imagine that at a football game, all the trouble they would have.
Oh yeah. See, we're not even allowed to bring alcohol into the ground.
Oh, they sell alcohol our games, 1,183 milliliters.
That's a
1,183 milliliters.
substantial amount. We sometimes we get beers, not good beers, but sometimes we get them in 3 liter bottles, plastic bottles, and it always says on the side for sharing only, but no one ever shares them. It's mainly ciders though that come in that, like the strong, really terrible drinking, tasting ciders, like the Frosty Jacks, for example, which I did some reviews of at some point.
Showed you is 8% alcohol.
Oh god, yeah, it has to be the strong ones.
And these people will buy these bottles and they'll drink the whole thing, and then in the street, are they getting some kind of trouble? Well, anyway, but on the other hand, you can get, like I said, Bud Light in a 40 ounce or a Coors Light or anything else you could think of. All right. Thanks, folks, for watching this examination. And if I ever go to Great Britain, whether it's Northern Ireland or Scotland or Wales or England, I would like to try that 3.5% Budweiser. I'll never see it here. So thanks, Blue Nose, for joining me.
No problem. Cheers again, Jay.
Friend Fact coming up with the idea.
No problem
Harry
at all.
invented this.
Enjoyed it. Thanks.
Have a good night.